Sprinkle this once and just watch as worms flood your garden bed like magic. There's something strangely thrilling about watching your dead, compacted soil come back to life. One morning you dig in with your hand and feel soft, moist earth full of squirming worms, and you didn't turn the soil, bury scraps, or even bother composting. Sounds like garden fiction, right? But it's not. I stumbled upon a powder-based method that flipped the health of my raised beds in just weeks, and now I swear by it. If your raised garden beds have turned dry, crusty, and lifeless no matter how much compost you've thrown at them, keep reading. This guide isn't about guesswork or miracle products. It's a simple, science-backed approach that transforms soil using 3 humble ingredients you can apply in minutes, and once it's in, the soil takes care of the rest. Let's dive into exactly how this worked for me, why it works for thousands of other gardeners, and how you can easily replicate the transformation in your own beds without breaking your back. Most raised beds are set up with great intentions: fresh compost, high-quality soil, maybe even a layer of mulch on top. But months later, you check on them, and something's off. The soil feels dusty, crumbly in the wrong way, and when you dig around, worms are nowhere to be found. If you've had this happen, you're not alone. Raised beds dry out faster than in-ground plots. They lack the natural insulation and constant flow of organic material that ground soil gets from decaying roots, falling leaves, and microbes moving freely. On top of that, water drains through them quickly, and essential nutrients tend to leach out over time. So even if your soil started out rich, it's probably lost the microbial life and structure it needs to support worms. And here's the catch. Worms don't come just because you toss in compost or food scraps. They follow microbial activity. Worms go where bacteria and fungi are thriving because those organisms are their actual food source. Without a healthy microbial buffet, your worms pack up and leave, no matter how many kitchen scraps you bury. This is where things started to change for me. After years of overcompensating with compost and watering schedules, I discovered a mix of 3 ingredients that did what all that work never could. I didn't till. I didn't bury banana peels. I didn't layer cardboard. I just dusted the top of my soil with a powder blend of rock dust, clay powder, and dried molasses. Yes, powders, dry, clean, shelf-stable powders. The secret wasn't about feeding plants, it was about reawakening the soil microbes that feed everything else. What followed over the next few weeks was nothing short of a full-blown ecosystem revival. The soil turned darker, it held moisture longer, fungus began to web across the surface, and best of all, worms started tunneling through the topsoil like it was a buffet. What's actually in the mix and why it works so well? Let's break it down, because this isn't just about throwing things together and hoping for the best. Each part of the mix plays a vital role in building a worm-friendly, microbe-rich soil environment. First, there's the rock dust, specifically basalt or glacial dust. This isn't fertilizer, it doesn't feed your plants directly. Instead, it's loaded with trace minerals that modern soils are often completely missing. These minerals act like slow-release fuel for bacteria and fungi, which unlock nutrients already in your soil and help form humus, the rich sponge-like structure that holds moisture and air. Microbes thrive on it, and worms follow them. Next is clay powder, like bentonite or red clay. Now I know clay gets a bad rap. Used alone, it compacts soil and suffocates roots. But when used in small amounts, it's a hidden gem. Clay holds water like nothing else. It binds with organic material to create structure, slows nutrient leaching, and buffers pH swings. Most importantly, it contains elements like calcium and iron that worms love. Once I started using it, my raised bed stopped drying out so fast and microbial colonies exploded. And then there's the dried molasses. This is the catalyst. Dried molasses is basically a dry sugar source that doesn't ferment or smell but feeds the good microbes in your soil like rocket fuel. Bacteria and fungi can sense and metabolize it almost immediately. Within days, the soil surface starts to look more alive, darker, spongier, and sometimes even dusted with a light fungal bloom. Together, these three create what I like to call a microbial ignition system. They don't fix the soil on their own, they wake it up so that the organisms already in your garden can do their job better. How to apply it the right way, without lifting a shovel. Honestly, this might be the most satisfying part. It takes almost no effort. All you need is slightly moist soil. If your bed is bone dry, just give it a light watering the day before. You want the powders to sink in without caking. Then, take roughly equal parts of rock dust clay powder and dried molasses. For a standard 4x8 raised bed, a couple of cups of each is plenty. You don't need to bury anything or mix it in. Just sprinkle the mix evenly across the surface. Think of it like adding seasoning, not too heavy, not too patchy. Water the bed gently but thoroughly afterward. This helps the powders start interacting with the topsoil and activates microbial growth. You'll notice the difference within 48 hours, sometimes even sooner. The smell changes, the texture improves, moisture sticks around longer. And here's the beautiful part, you don't have to do anything else. In the first few days, you'll likely notice a more earthy smell rising from the bed. If conditions are right, you might see fine white strands of fungal growth across the surface. That's your soil biology waking up. By week 2, your soil will feel different. It becomes more elastic, darker, and water begins to soak in instead of running off. If you dig gently with your fingers, you'll start to see tunnels and worm castings, especially around plant roots. These are clear signs the worms are back and they're busy. By week 3 or 4, the transformation becomes even more obvious. Soil structure improves, plants become more vibrant, and you'll notice better moisture retention across the board. Even in dry spells, your raised bed won't dry out as quickly. You might even find baby worms in the top layers. Clear proof that your soil is now hospitable enough for reproduction. That's a big win. What amazed me most is how long this method continues to work after just one application. Unlike liquid fertilizers that push plant growth then wash away, this powder blend builds a real soil ecosystem. It encourages natural nutrient cycling, meaning your plants get what they need when they need it. You're not force-feeding them, you're letting biology take the lead. There's also zero risk of overdoing it. No root burn, no weird pest issues, no salt buildup, and because it's based on dry, stable ingredients, you only need to apply it once or twice a season. You can still layer mulch, add compost or plant cover crops on top, but now, there's a thriving biological engine underneath that processes all of it faster and better than before. If you've been struggling with underperforming raised beds, disappearing worms, or inconsistent plant growth, this approach might be the low-effort, high-impact solution you've been missing. I know how frustrating it is to do everything right and still feel like your soil is flatlining, but sometimes less really is more. Instead of piling on more compost or turning the soil every month, try activating the life that's already there. When you give microbes what they need, they do all the hard work for you. I'm not saying this mix is magic, but it's the closest thing I've seen to it in years of trial and error. If this resonated with you, make sure to subscribe to Soil and Crop Central here on YouTube. This channel is all about honest, practical solutions that actually work for real gardeners, not gimmicks. And hey, your worms will thank you.